starting with theoretical to epistemological to practical. Now here I am basically talking about the issue concentrating particularly on focus group discussion, which is a qualitative technique and which is of late being widely used by social scientists. In fact, if you look into the trajectory of social science research, initially, say 40s, 50s, most of the social science research basically were qualitative in nature. Even before that, when the British anthropologists started exploring field, the notion of field, going to the field, then probably partisan observation appeared as a simple technique which would understand, which would be in a position which is better placed to understand social reality. But that was the time when probably in late 18th century, people were basically studying small groups of people, maybe tribes, natives, right, living within a close, proximate geographical boundary. But in contemporary phase, when we have to study say students, say teachers, say employees, say workers, villagers, okay, women, whatever may be the target group, it becomes so difficult to apply a particular technique because of the complexity of social scenario, because of the complexity of our social life, and because of several changes that have happened in contemporary life. For instance, we are so much exposed to technology that I have started working, taking a reverse step. Normally, in any kind of discussion, and I used to, apply PPT for probably allowing the participants to have a look on what I am talking. But I have gradually understood that people find more interest in the PPT, not in whatever I am saying. And they just use the mobile phone to take a click, take a picture and then forget. So it's a kind of experiencing with the modern technology, experiencing with the modern life, experiencing with the research techniques. The more you use the research technique, more you find that it is not suitable. Whereas in theoretical discourses, whereas in methodological books, okay, you would find that there are so much positive aspects of this technique being, but when you take it, when you apply it, you find it is not, you cannot apply it. So obviously, now actually in the beginning of 21st century, we have started talking about mixed method. We have started talking about triangulation of methods, despite the fact that our stress is also on qualitative aspects. Now, certain changes have taken place also among those who at one point of time used to rely on only quantitative techniques. For instance, if you go to statistical institutes, I often frequently go to Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata. They ask me to talk more on qualitative techniques than on quantitative techniques. So frequently I ask a question to them, why do you stress so much on qualitative techniques? They say, well, we have been applying statistical paradigm, this and that, inferential testing, these statistics, that statistics. But we have gradually found out that in order to reach deep into the mind of a particular person, in order to reach to the criticality of a particular question, many questions are critical. Many questions, even the identity of a caste, for instance. Right? It's a critical issue. You ask somebody, what is your caste? He would say, what do you mean? If he is a Dalit, then he would rather identify him as a Dalit, not as a Harijan or not as a person belonging to a particular caste. You would rather identify him with a greater category. So many of the earlier concepts are critical concepts. Even simple concepts have become critical. If you ask about income, then people will doubt what is the purpose. If you ask about education of parents, then people will give you false information because parents are thought to be all literate. So here is a time when probably getting to the reality, understanding the reality, and reaching the ultimate reality is a complex endeavor for all of us. Many of us listen to objects, listen to things, but we don't believe in them. Right? So we believe in what? We believe in nothing. We We keep on changing our opinion. Maybe in the morning if I ask how are you, your answer in the evening is different. Or often many of the questions that we ask are metaphorical answers. Metaphorical questions in the sense that we don't expect any answer at all. For instance, in the hospital, in the health center, you are asking a person, how are you? You are just simply asking a question. You are not asking a question for getting an answer. So many of the complexities of social life that have taken place in contemporary life, you don't rely on any person. For instance, who is a friend? During our time, a friend was a person who was very close to us, reliable. You ask modern generation, school boys and girls. My daughter has a definition, and I was surprised. A daughter is a person who is a permanent enemy. This kind of notions do, I said, why did you write this answer? She said, my friend wrote the different answer. That's why I wrote it. I know this is correct. And she told me the wrong answer. That's why I intentionally asked her the answer. See, that kind of, people don't rely on people. You don't answer anything. Every time we are camouflaging. Right? Every time we are building an image which may not be the reality which we are. But in research, in social science research, in any kind of research, the ultimate goal is to reach to the reality. What actually real people believe in. Why actually people do it. At what context people do it. How to get into the reality. How do you actually apprehend a particular reality if the real life situation is so complex. Right? Often we say the rural people are very simple. Urban people are very complex. You go and talk to rural people. Even there you find there is politics, there is caste, there is groupism, there is so many things which actually come in between your understanding of reality and their understanding of reality. If you say that you are from Biswajit, then they would first ask whether they are going to be benefited by your research. If you tell lie, then they will tell also lie. So, in many instances, we rely on lies. You are traveling by a car, you are going home, somebody has called you, or maybe you are residing at home, somebody has called you and you are saying you are very busy. You are in a meeting in an office. Who is listening? Your children? The people who are close to you? Frequently we do it. I call it public lie. I have written on globalization. I call it public lie. Openly we say, yes, please get in. Openly we say that I am doing this, why in real sense I am not doing that. Right? Many of the selfies, for instance, which we upload, do they project the real picture of a person? These are all edited. You take a photograph, you edit it, and then you upload it. Why do you upload it? Because you are waiting for number of likes. You are not uploading just for the sake of uploading a picture, you are uploading it for number of likes. So, what I am basically saying, the social life as it is today is very complex, whether it is rural or urban. Even in rural area, people are very complex. So therefore, the simple technique of interview, for instance, you go and ask a person, right, is not suitable in all contexts. Many a time we rely on survey techniques, interview, questionnaire, so on and so forth, telephoning interview also. But the kind of data that we are asking, they are all complex. Even, as I said, even a simple issue is a complex issue. Maybe, say for instance, the issue of whether dowry was transacted in marriage or not. You go and ask a particular person whether dowry was transacted or not. The answer will be, no, it was not transacted. You ask a reverse question, was a gift given to you? Yes, gifts were given. So, we went to Malda, interior of Malda, called Bhutni Chowk. It's surrounded by Ganga, Fulahar river. We asked whether they married their daughters early. Before going there, we conducted a survey. We found that 90% of girls get married before, say, 14 or 15. All of them said, no, it is illegal. Look into the picture, poster. And we were surprised to see posters put up all over in Budnich or by an NGO that child marriage is illegal. So you ask a question, the answer will be negative. But if you go around, look into the family, look into the vermilion being put into the child's forehead, you get to know that they are all married. So what technique actually you should apply in understanding a reality, in reaching into the reality of the crux of reality, complexity of a real phenomenon. That's why we call it triangulation, because you have to look it from different angles. If you look it from different angle, you mix method, considering the fact that all techniques have their advantages and disadvantages. Even qualitative techniques have their disadvantages. We'll be talking about all these, right? Nothing is bereft of any critique. Everything is critiqued, right? But more you rely on a particular technique, more actually you are getting one-sided. You are not getting the other side of the view. And understanding the other side of the view is so important, and that your whole paradigm of, whole structure of or the image of argument will change. If you just do it in reverse wise, for instance, anything of this sort, let me use this. If I show you this picture, it would look like a spray, but if I show you this picture, you would say, well, it looks like a wash machine sort of thing. The same image, reverse down, upside down. Look it from other angle. The image of Bardhaman city, for instance, when I came, it was all crowded. I didn't like it. So one day, after a month, I went to teacher's home. He took me to the terrace. We sat down, moonlight night, fine. And I found the Karjan Gate and the area so beautiful. I looked at Bardhaman from top. I'm stating this example to show that if you mix things, then probably you get a different idea. I will state here one example to explain why actually you have to look at different angles. A famous anthropologist called Andre Bethe, I don't know whether you have heard his name or not. He's still alive. He was at Delhi University. He went to study a village in Tamil Nadu called Sripuram. He stayed with the Brahmins. He applied participant observation technique to understand the village people. Since he stayed with the Brahmins, the Adi Dravidas, means the untouchables, did not come close to him. The Adi Dravidas were all working in the field, and they are in numerically large number. So when Professor Bethe asked the host, Brahmin host, that I want to talk to them, I also want about them, learn about them. The Brahmin said, they are all illiterate. What do you want to know about them? You ask me, I will tell everything about them. So, obviously, Bethe had to listen to what Brahmins has to say on Dalit. Then he tried going to the field with the plea of looking into the quality of agricultural products. But his real intention was to talk to the labor who is working in the field. But the moment he approached the labor was receding back. He is receding back. He is not coming forward. Then Andre Bethe asked, why are you going back? He said, no, don't talk to me. And Bethe also saw that there are people who are observing him, whether he is talking to the untouchable or not. So on the final day, he was quite aware of the fact that the views of the village that he had collected till now were the views of the Brahmins. There could be an opposite view also, the reverse view, which probably he doesn't know. So the final day he packed his luggage, everything, he is about to go. He said Tata bye-bye to the Brahmin family and then entered into the Adi Dravida land. Now the Dravida and Adi Dravida land, in between this land there was a water body. The Adi Dravida land is considered to be polluted by the Brahmins. But since there is a water body in between these two lands, so this land is pure. This is a typical notion that water is never impure. Water is Ma Ganga everywhere. So in between this land is being pure. In South India, even today, you have to walk at a distance with a particular caste, distance, because land can be polluted. So there's a water body. He crossed the water body. He went there, and then there was an opposite reaction which he did not understand. We did not apprehend. The reaction is, why have you come here? This is the question. Our goat, our hen, our animal will die. You are a Brahmin, why have you come here? What is the interpretation? You think I am polluted, I think you are polluted. You are a polluted person, that's why our animals will die. This is the reverse version. Dalits also have a say, have a version of what caste is. You think you are high caste, but I think you are polluted. So, point is, if you look at a particular context, particular issue, particular problem from one point of view, using one technique, you get only one kind of answers, one types of answers. Therefore, triangulation probably is a method, is probably the best way to, overcome the limitations of particular techniques. Now, at one point of time, triangulation was opposed by social scientists. It was then said that, well, if you are going for quantitativeness is something which cannot be compromised with qualitativeness. Quality is completely different. For instance, I say, I am good. You love something. You cannot quantify. You love your parents. You love your country. You cannot quantify. So the logic, epistemology of quantification and epistemology of qualification, they are completely different. They do not match. So at one point of time, it was argued that there is a paradigm where between qualitative and quantitative techniques. You cannot combine. You go with quantity, you go with quantity. You go with quality, aspects of quality, they are completely different aspects of something. And in fact, if I ask you to frame certain questions, quantitative questions and qualitative questions, you will be framing different sets of questions. What is your age? Obviously, it's a numerical answer. Right? What is your feeling? There is the quantitative answer. So obviously, many of the things are different. But the researchers have understood that even quantity can be applied to understand equality. For instance, if I say that 75% of Indians are literate, or if I say that 40% of Indian women are still illiterate, you are using a figure, you are using a numerical figure in order to explain a situation, and you are also talking about the quality of life. This much of people are poor, this much of people do not have sanitary benefit, toilets, they don't go to, these are figures. But figures also expresses a quality of life. Right? Similarly, if you say most of the villagers are really, we normally in qualitative techniques we use most, many, not exact figure, most and many. Most of the people, most of the students are good. What do you say? All of, at least many of, somebody is good. Okay.
Thanks.
Sir. Pranab sir.
Oh, acha. I have not been introduced to you. So, yes.
Sir, we can go for ordering or ranking of our feelings or expressions. Can that be a way to, like a kind of quantification of those qualitative things?
I'll be talking also about that. So, in even the qualitative researchers, they try to quantify. They try to say that most of the people believe in caste. Many of whom I have met, they are all so and so. Because the basic purpose of in research is to develop general understandings. You develop general understanding, common understanding. For instance, you are probably 15 here. If I explain each of you, right, and then leave the decision to the reader to understand about you, then he or she will be confused. In order to explain all of you, I have to generalize. All of them are good. Number one, all of them are attentive. It becomes more easy to understand a particular group. So obviously, the purpose of any research is to generalize about the whole society. Yes, most of them are literate, only this much is illiterate. You cannot say this is illiterate, this is illiterate, illiterate, he is literate, she is illiterate. You cannot go on saying, identifying each and every person. You have to quantify. So whether you are using quantitative techniques or qualitative techniques, the basic logic is to express a reality so that it becomes understandable so quickly, so easily. And secondly, it is also comparable. Comparable with other groups. So when you are comparing, you are actually using some kind of figurative things. Either it is number, exact number, or most, many, like this. As a result of all these, there has been a revolution also in statistical techniques. The question that she has asked. At one point of time, we have been talking about SPSS. Right? You have your collected data. You ask a SPSS expert, he will produce all tables. You just insert the data, and then the package itself, the software itself will produce several kinds of tables. And then you then analyze the tables. You can also go for statistical tests. Right? Similarly, there are softwares developed where qualitative data can be analyzed quantitatively, can be processed. Navivu, Cactus, there are softwares being developed. So this is something. One is quantitative expression of reality, other is from, the process is from quantity to quality, the other reverse is from quality to quantity. You understood a quality, that most of your students are good. Okay, then you say, well, most of our students are good and 70% of them are first class. You are actually quantifying. You are mixing quantity with quality. Why actually you are doing it? In order to impress upon the people who are listening to you, who are reading your argument, in order to make your argument understandable. Very easily, very quickly. Otherwise, if you go on listing each and every person, name each and every person and say she is first class, she is second class, she is home, you are not generalizing, then probably it becomes problematic. And anybody will say, "Bhai, kya bol rahe ho, bhai? What is the argument? You tell me. What is the major argument?" So ultimate purpose of any kind of research, whether you are writing an article or not, whether you are doing research or not, is to generate an argument. And that argument is a theoretical argument. That argument is a theoretical argument. That's why if you are writing an article for a journal, if you are planning something, you have to begin with a theoretical question. That's why you have to begin with the research, review of literature. Why? Because it is in literature you find questions. If your research is without any question, you do not have any question, you are not in a position to generate any question, and you are not in a position to answer any question, then it is not a research at all. You are searching again, you are looking for something fresh. Why you are searching for fresh? Why, who has asked you to look for fresh? Literature has asked you. Something is not done or something wrongly done. That's why you have to look for something. I will give you just one instance to explain why you have to look for something new. For instance, a person close to me, she said she wants to work on transgender development. So fine, she went for her PhD interview at Delhi IIT. Then teacher said, well, whatever you are saying are already known to us. What is new? Wherever you go, this question will be there. Whether you are writing an article or not, this question will be there. What is new that you are talking about? And your article will be accepted only if you talk new. What is new in transgender movement that we don't know that you are going to understand? So this student came back to me. I said, why can't you link your understanding of transgender movement with the process of globalization? She went back, studied, and then found that globalization actually is fragmenting our identities. It's creating new kinds of identities, it's fragmenting old identities. Okay, this is something new. So whether globalization is also fragmenting transgender identities, this is something new. Then you look whether somebody has already done or not, right? Research or not. That is the purpose. For instance, few weeks back I called a college teacher. He wants to do PhD with me. I said, what is the topic? He said, Muslim education. I said, why do you want to work on it? Muslims are mostly uneducated. We know such a committee has long back told us that Muslims are backward, they are illiterate, they work in informal sector. These are all known facts. Why do you want to research on this? Why do you want to research on a topic which is already known? What is new that you are looking for? Then he got puzzled. I said, okay, I am giving you a problem. Can you work on this? I said, look at a reverse way. The understanding of Muslims as illiterate, as backward, as pre-modern, as religious, is a Hindu notion in Indian society in particular. Why don't you generate an opposite notion that Muslims are moderate, Muslims are modern, Muslims want education, Muslims oppose talaq, Muslims oppose child marriage, Muslim girls assert their identity. Can you research on that? Obviously there is a very strong Muslim middle class in India. Very strong Muslim middle class in India, and the discourses of Muslim middle class and the Muslim rural are different. Can you work on a topic which is something new, which is contemporary? So beginning with the research question, you are actually looking for general question which is interesting, which probably people will understand and which would allow you to write articles and articles for at least 20-30 years. You work on caste and family, these are all old topics being studied by every person. I would say you don't work on caste and family. Pick up something new. Impact of globalization on family, or maybe mobile family. Husband in Delhi and wife in Pune. Something new, right? Kind of intimacy, kind of intimate relation in the age of globalization. Something new. You are working on family, you are working on relation, but the new. So whenever you pick up any topic, you look for general question. If the question is general, explanation should be general. Your conclusion should be general. So whether you walk by this way or that way, in order to come here, you can walk straight here. You can take that road here, you can also go back, and this way you can come here. There are different roads. Whether you come here or come by this way or that way, you are coming here. Ultimately the position is you are explaining reality so that the people who are listening to you can understand it so fluently. So whether you are applying quantitative techniques or qualitative techniques, there is no paradigm way. Because the purpose is to make your research understandable to people. Number one, utility of research for the society at large. Not only for people, not only for yourself, right? Also for society at large. So taking all this thing, people have started understanding that there could be triangulation, but there are strategies to be followed in order also to do triangulation. I will be concentrating more on triangulation, but I would just caution you that if you are thinking of mixing methods, there could be different types. There are 4 types of mixing. You should be careful. First is mixing of techniques, which is called mixed method. in popular discourse. Second is mixing of theoretical perspectives, mixing theories. Third is mixing sources of data, right? And finally, mixing researchers. Two researchers are working on it. This is mixing. If two researchers work on the same topic, if they generate similar kind of data, you can conclude that both of them collected correct. If two researchers work on the same topic and their conclusions are different, then you raise questions. Which one is good? The challenges of doing triangulation is you mix methods, say interview and observation, say FGD and interview. Now FGD data says that caste as a phenomenon is no more there in social life. But your FGD data says caste is still prevalent. Through the backdoor it is entering. We don't name caste, but we use different other terminologies like biradri, like community, like group. We don't use caste. We think caste is pre-modern something. But we still maintain caste. And look at Anandavajan Putrika, advertisement, marriage advertisement, caste is there. So, two techniques producing two different types of data. This is most challenging task. Because at the fag end of your research, when you find that your FGD data that do not match with the interview data, the survey data that you have collected, you have to either accept this or that. Number one option. Number two option, you have to go back. Either conduct FGDs again or conduct interviews again if you doubt any particular thing. Or the third option is ignore interview data or ignore FGD data, rely only on one set of data which you think is final. So this is a challenge. Now in order to get rid of that, the suggestion is you should plan your research in such a way that they do not clash. And you have collected, for instance, survey, do it a phase wise. You do a survey first and then FGD. Or you do FGD first and then survey, whatever way. Whichever you give prominence. You should always look into the issue that they are not clashing. If you find that it is clashing, your survey data does not match with the FGD data, you should immediately think which one is more appropriate, more true. I will give you an example. I was working on the trade union movement from a PhD. I went to Tapshia, Tengra area on the leather industry. I stayed there for almost 5 to 6 months. And the trade union leaders started calling me. There's a big trade union there, AITC union. Leaders started calling me Comrade Ghosh. Workers started calling me Comrade Ghosh. I was always there in the union office. I was there in the action. In one of the action, they went with pistol and bomb. They said, you also can see how we act. Because Chinese employers are so powerful, so we have to go with bomb, with pistol. Their anti-socials also challenging us. Fine. I have seen everything, and I was so, so much in praise for the union leadership for fighting for the rights of workers. Right? So I have been writing the story of the way the trade union have prevented the onslaught on the workers and so on and so forth. Then one day, in the evening hours, I went to workers' home. They were intoxicated. And they started talking about corruption within trade union. They said that the current secretary of the trade union has killed the earlier secretary himself. Because being a secretary, you have plenty of resources, money. Employers give you money if you are the secretary of the trade union. How do you get money? You call a strike and you withdraw it. Whenever you call a strike, employers get threatened. So you get money from the employers, withdraw the strike. and give bhashans to workers, say about US imperialism, about this and that, and mesmerize them, develop a phantasmagoria which probably our politicians do, right? In Bengali, Satyajit Ray calls it Magaj Dhulai. So do a Magaj Dhulai. So, they were saying the crores of money that he has spent in Bihar in the marriage of his daughter. They were testimony to that. Then the treasurer of the union, who was a school teacher, he also given me hints. Yes, these are true. There are corruptions. Which set of data you rely most? These are confidential data which you get to know at the fag end of your research, at the fag end of your research. Which Andhra also got, that Dalits also have new vision, understanding about what caste is. Obviously, you find this is much more reliable, this is secret. Nobody would tell you the secrets of a family. Whether dowry is transacted, whether there is domestic violence in a family, nobody would tell you, right? And if you ask any person, maybe he is in health center, how are you? Very good. You ask the reverse question, why have you come? To see doctor, which problem hai? Then why did you say very good? So, in daily discourse, many of the things that we say, we don't do that. Many of what I believe, yes, I will vote for you. The moment some other population comes, अरे आपको ही तो देना है, सबको देना है. Is not it? That's what we do. अरे हाँ आपका साथ है तो हूँ मैं. You are there with all political parties, but probably you haven't even gone for voting. You don't like voting probably. So your actuality, the thing that you actually do and the thing that you express, quite different. So obviously you have to rely on combination, and for doing that you have to plan your research. If you don't plan it, then probably you will generate contradictions. And the end of your life probably you cannot match between these two. So the best thing is to do in phase wise. Do a preliminary survey first. Identify respondents. Respondents who would allow you critical data. Because the moment you enter into a field, you will generate so much of questions. Who is she? Who is he? Why is he coming? For 1 month there will be children running after you. Isn't it? Just go to any village. Didi aayi hai, dada aayi hai, they will run after you. The political leaders, kaun aaya hai, kyun aaya hai, and if you are asking question, he thinks he is the best person to answer. He won't allow anyone else. If you ask question, you are probably asking question to the children, the parents will answer. You are asking question to the daughter-in-law, the father-in-law will reply. You don't expect him to reply, but he will reply. Ami bolchi. This is the correct answer. So in field situation, you can never neutralize people who are around you. You can never do. So if you begin a research in the initial phase, there are so many people seeing you, what are you doing, what kind of questions you are asking. And the people who are answering, they also cannot answer. You ask a wife, do your husband beat you up? She would answer, she would look here and there. Because there are other people listening to whatever she is saying. Maybe the husband is standing behind, he is also listening. So the best purpose is don't ask critical questions. आज बहुत गर्मी है. Prices of commodities have gone up. Talk about neutral things. Neutralize your position so that people have lost interest on you. Political party leaders, children, husbands, everybody. You can find your respondent talking to her, gossiping with her, and understanding the true things of whatever has happened in your life or her life, his life. That position actually is a position which you will be able to know after probably 6 months of a field work, not initially. So begin with something. Collect data on, say, education, on age, on caste, on these. basic data that everybody will be given, right? Number of households, number of people, family size, everything. Reserve your critical questions which are theoretical questions. Don't pose them, right? Often we use scaling techniques. Scaling techniques, you ask a question and you give 5 answers, 5 options. Agree, totally agree, partially agree, not agree, partially disagree, totally disagree. 5 answers. Scaling, there are Likert scale, there are different types of scales. Now you ask a person, are you satisfied? He or she will think whether she or he are satisfied and then give an answer. You ask that person that question again in a different context. She or he will answer differently. So then you say, well, 70% of your respondents are satisfied. You are not actually telling the truth. So many of the critical questions should not be asked at one go. Different phases, research done in different phases. In first phase, people are learning about you, you are entering into the field, it takes so much of time, there is caste, there is gender, there is age, so many things. You are young and you are researching on the old. You have gone from city wearing shirts and using perfume, your dress, everything. They look at you and they feel you are different. They feel you are different. In the work, this thing, Tengra, when I used to go, I used to wear that old dress so that I also look like a worker. So many things, the way you talk, right? They use slang, for instance. In open discourse, they use slang. You cannot. They smoke beardy, you cannot. So differences are always there in the field. Your dress, your age, your sex, everything. Many things cannot be, you cannot obliterate everything. It's okay. But you should try to reach out to the participants by minimizing the differences, by controlling the situation. That is possible at the fag end. And FGD comes then. All qualitative techniques like case study method, PRA, FGD, they emerge after a preliminary round of survey. You do preliminary round of survey, you identify people, you talk to people. Some people are friendly, they give you time, they have the time for you, right? They also talk freely, you understand she or she. Some of the people are very reserved. You ask so many questions, they won't answer. So you leave them. Okay, human personalities, there's a great difference in human personalities too. So if you yes,
স্যার বলছি ক্লিনিক্যাল পপুলেশন যদি হয় তাহলে সেই ক্ষেত্রে কিভাবে ওইটাকে মিনিমাইজ করব? মানে ধরুন আমি এমনি গিয়ে যখন বলছি সে আমার উত্তর দিচ্ছে না, কিন্তু যে মুহূর্তে একজন ডাক্তার বলে দিল যে অমুক জন ডাক্তার আপনি ওনাকে বলুন, তখন সে ফ্রিলি আমাকে তখন খুলে তার প্রবলেমসটা বলছে। কিন্তু যে মুহূর্তে ওই ডাক্তারটা আমি আইডেন্টিফাই করে দিল ইনটু দ্যাট প্রফেশন, সেখানেই তো ডাইলুটেড হয়ে গেল। মানে
look, I will tell you a story. I was doing the study in these people is calling me again. Bye. Hello. Hello. Yeah, Anthony, I am delivering a lecture. Can I talk to you the last time? Okay. So I would use this phone number to call you, okay? I would use this phone number to call you back. No, I am in a classroom. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Yeah, fine. I understand why he is calling so much. He is from Kerala University. Yes. So I told Professor Panini that I am terribly suffering from stomach disorder because I am working in the Tenga area and my doctor has asked not to go and drink and sit down with, eat with them, drink with them. Drinking water in Topshe is so difficult. Tenga is so difficult. My supervisor listened to the whole discourse and said, I am very happy that you are suffering. I said, why sir? I am suffering and you are very happy. He said, tell me a researcher who has not suffered because of doing field work. Now this story can be utilized that if you go to a particular field, you should first of all allow the people to talk. Then Panini said something, don't ever think that workers do not know anything. Rather, you should believe that workers know much more than you. Might be from JNU, you must have read a lot, but the workers probably know much more than you so far as industrial relations are concerned. Similarly is the situation in a patient counseling and clinical situation. Often we think that person does not know and I know everything. I am here to guide him. You allow him to talk. First of all, you have to have his confidence. In all kind of research, you have to win the confidence of a person with whom you are talking. How to gain confidence? Hello, I am Professor Ghosh, I am from Bardhaman University. Is it enough? No. Talk and talk and talk and gradually open up doors. You begin with a critical question, he would never answer you. He would never answer you. Right? A child is crying, a person is, many a time in clinical endeavor, the victims are so much sort of psychologically depressed that they are not in a position even to understand what the answer is, what the question is. So you have to allow the gestation period, and that happens in all kind of research endeavor. You are working on domestic relation, you are working on dowry, you are working on trafficking, you are working on child marriage, any kind of issue, people would never tell you unless and until you give some time. You talk to them, gradually they would understand that yes, he is a person with whom I can share. That confidence you have to build up. You should not think that you know everything and he is not telling you. You are not, just 1 minute, you are not gaining or you are not in a position to get his confidence. Yes.
So mainly called a report.
This is normally called report establishment, but I think this is so small a term. In clinical cases, it's not just report. It is winning the confidence of the person. Report is you get a letter, you show him and you just talk to him for 5-7 minutes.
মানে স্যার আমার যেটা প্রবলেম হয় যে ডাক্তার যদি হয়ে থাকে আমি আমার প্রবলেমটা বলবো কারণ সেখানে আমার ফায়দা আছে কিন্তু নরমাল লোককে আমি বলবো না তাই জন্য
Look, he does not have confidence on you. This is the basic question. You go on talking to him, go on suggesting him this, that, he finds you are interesting. You are interested. Otherwise he won't disclose. No. No. Academic setting darker. That's why point is, in many social endeavor, for instance, father-daughter or parent-children discussion. Do you think your children share all details? Children share all details with the parents? Whatever happened in the school? Never. Never. My daughter always used to ask me to come to the bus stand. Mommy ko mat lao. I said, why? She gets angry. I feel free with you. So she said, I haven't eaten tiffin. Chalo, pheko. She was in a mood to throw the tiffin. So she is just taking my permission. If I say don't throw it, then she won't like, pheko. Don't tell Funny. She is happy. Now tell what has happened. Don't tell, I have got only this much. Chalo, theek hai. The winning the confidence of a person means going to that level. If you think you are at the superior level, if you act like a father, then you will never be a friend to your son. Right? So that takes time. It's not only a question of time, it's also a question of approach. How to see it? How do you mix with it?
Environment.
Right? In the creating an environment, in the interview board yesterday, we did an interview in the department, a girl was just doing like this. So I said, would you like to have a cup of tea? She said, no, no, no. So I said, Are you are wearing a green kurta today? Is green your favorite color? So I'm not asking any question. I'm normalizing the relation. I'm normalizing the situation. She then laughed, no, I said, so how do you like, for the last 2 years you have been here, and if you want to continue, we can continue, do you want to continue? So sort of, different other questions. If you find that your patients are really, the person with whom you are talking, they are not psychologically at that level to talk to you, at par with you, you have to go down. You have to talk different. Similarly, in the interview situation, you are finding some people are watching you, you are being surveilled, that kind of situation is there. Would you ask question? You should never ask question, because the person who is answering, he would feel obstructed. In an environment there is electricity is gone, there is so much of hot, mosquitoes are biting, you are asking a question, how is life? You will answer, it is horrible. The answer is horrible. Obviously the situation is horrible, right? So you have to rely also on condition, at what situation you are asking. Are people observing you? Not only you are being, people are looking at you, the person who is answering you would also look at who is watching, who is listening to it. So whether it is one-to-one situation or not. And one clue that I must give you, if you are talking to a person, don't lose the eyesight. In any kind of research situation, don't lose the eyesight, eye contact. The moment you collect an answer and start writing it, you lose the eye contact, you are allowing that person to reconstruct his image. The next question he will answer critically. So, you have mobile phone, you can record, number one, or you ask someone else to record. Or you use a memory. So in any kind of interpersonal relationship, these are so minute things. Talk to the person, give him warmth, give him the feeling that you are the person to stand by him, right? And understand the situation which has forced a person to do like that. A victim of domestic violence has come for counseling to you. Don't ask about domestic violence, ask about family, how was there in the family, where is the family, where do they stay, what is the income, everything. You are locating the person. Economic background of the person, social background of the person, educational background of the person, family size, everything. These informations are important. But the person won't hesitate to talk about that he stays in Bardhaman or he stays in Bulbul. You won't hesitate. You ask any person, why do you stay? Oh, this is a neutral question. I stay in Bardhaman. Fine? So, collect this information. Gradually you collect this information in order to understand the situation from where he or she is coming. A person is coming from a broken family, for instance. There is either of the parents are missing, died, divorcing, whatever it may be. So this is a typical situation where a person is feeling alone, lonely, right? That is a typical situation which would allow you to ask different set of questions. A person, aged person coming from a joint family and an aged person coming from a nuclear family, the questions would be different because the situations are different. So doing research calls for so much of spending your energy, so much of thinking on the part of the researcher. At what moment a person should do what. It is not mechanical. Research is not a mechanical endeavor. That you have typed a questionnaire, hello, how are you? Please fill it up. This is absurd research. And if you are doing it for a company, fine, you are doing a job, you hand over the questionnaire. And if people do not fill it up, you fill it up. We use the term armchair sociologist.
Connected
করতে আছে ফিল্ড এরিয়াতে।
Is there anyone who cannot understand Bengali in this class? Okay, fine, yes.
So sometimes when I go to the field, asking some, doing some research or survey work, the first questions comes from our respondents.
Obviously,
Say, why you are giving the answers?
look, in contemporary life,
What are the benefits we have taken?
in contemporary life, you won't get a person who is not being surveyed by an agency or not. আরে 7 দিন আগেই তো প্রশ্ন করলাম, আরে গত মাসেই তো হলো। People don't have time.
Okay.
You have gone there for your own benefit.
Yes.
And they would first of all understand whether you are a government employee or not, whether you have come there to give her something or not. Like when I went to Topshia, the workers thought that I am a person, I came from Delhi, so I must be looking for irregularities done with the Chinese employer. So they found some interest in me. Okay, this person has come from Delhi, ये दिल्ली से आया है. So जब मैंने बोला दिल्ली से आया हूँ मैं, they formulated my image. I didn't say that I have come to look into the illegalities taking place in the tannery industry. I didn't tell them, but they have formulated because they are concerned about illegal thing happening in leather industry. They are concerned. So whenever I said, Mr. Biswajit Ghosh, I have come from Delhi. They are giving me importance. Initially I was a bit surprised why they are giving me importance. But the reverse thing happened when I stayed for 6 months. Then they started calling me Comrade Ghosh. Okay, I started the major union, AITC union. After 6 months, I thought I should go and study INTUC and CT union. You know what these people say? You are AITC man. We have seen you in the union office. So your identity. So, Andhra Bedi was staying with Brahmin, so they thought he is a Brahmin. There are problems also. There are problems in a caste divided society. You work only the Dalits, the non-Dalits will get in with you. They will identify you as a Dalit. So in a society which is divided on the basis of religion, this, that, doing a research calls for so much of maneuvering on your part. First of all, ethically, it is wrong that you are telling lie. What you can say, I have come to understand. So, many a time I have used network approach to enter into the field. I have asked a friend of mine or a person living there that I want to go and see your village. So I went there. Then I asked him, why don't you introduce me? He is my friend, he has come to see. So I started talking to people. I had 2 things in my bag. One is a chocolate, Parley lozenges for children. The other is Charminar cigarette for aged persons. I don't know why I carry that, but I thought these are useful for me. So if whenever I used to enter into house, I used to look for children. Parents become happy if children get chocolate. I am targeting not the children but the parents. Similarly, the aged people, you offer a cup of tea and you offer a cigarette one day, then he becomes very friendly. Ghosh, please come. Okay, I am coming. So you sit there in tea stall, you sit there in these, there, everywhere. People lose extra interest on you. So you are talking to some person, other people won't listen to you. Otherwise it becomes so difficult. The moment you open up a piece of paper, it becomes your enemy. People becomes cautious. अरे कुछ paper निकला है, क्या है इसमें? So the best thing is to memorize the questions. How many questions you can memorize? Not more than probably 20. You cannot memorize. So have a question, leave it to the person who is along with you. He will tell you, ma'am or sir, this question का बात चले गए. And the order of the questions, from simple questions to complex questions, gradually. Based on the situation you ask a question. Maybe you get the answer symbolically. Many a time, a patient or a person would answer the question symbolically. I'll give you one example. I was working on the domestic violence and dowry. So somehow I could impress upon I've been going to the family that I will be talking to the newly married women only. So they allowed us, but the in-laws were in the other room. So I asked a question, was dowry transacted? She looked into in-laws' room. She didn't answer the question. Symbolically, it is yes. She was afraid of answering the question. That's why she looked at it. So many a time, we often say that you cannot be a tube light in field situation. You should be a bulb. Immediately you should, because people use facial expressions also, these and that. These are to be read, these are to be used. You have to be always cautious in understanding a particular person. So if your sample size is too large, bhai, humne 500 people ko study kiya. Is it possible to talk to 500 people? Is it possible to understand? Maybe you say you have collected information from 500 people, but you have really closely studied only 50 people. That is a possible endeavor. So you do multi-stage. In one stage you take one technique, the other stage you go to quality. And if in the qualitative technique, the disadvantage of qualitative technique is that you cannot have more than 10-15 questions. Because you cannot go with this. No paper, no diary. You have to memorize either thing or you record with the permission of the person. Or someone else is recording, or you are keeping everything in memory, you are going back and writing the answer. Because you are looking for general answers. Right? So, all techniques have advantages and disadvantages. An interview would allow you to collect so much of, say 30 questions, 40 questions. FGD and PRA would never, case study would never allow you to get into all this. But they would open up the floodgate, which probably this set of data cannot. So how do you explain your social life? You explain social life both quantitatively and qualitatively. The qualitative data that you will be collecting will be helpful to supplement the data that you have collected. This supplementation is very useful in explaining a situation, in reaching out or developing a general explanation about social life. So the strength of a research, the strength of an article, strength of a thesis, whatever it may be, project work, wherever you go, people will ask, क्या मिला है? 2-3 शब्द में बोलिए ना. You cannot take more time. You have to come to the crux of the problem. And the crux of the problem that you explored, for instance, that caste is still existing with a different name. अच्छा, interesting. क्या नाम है बोलिए. Then he would gradually ask you to open up. Then you open up. That people are using terms like Biradji, this and that. Achha, how do you know? Get my point? So basically, in any situation, after say 3 years of research, you can summarize it into 3 minutes. And if you take more than 3 minutes, people will say, क्या है? इतने सब data बोल रहे हैं. Confusing situation. ये भी है, वो भी है. क्या है? So that actually calls for so much of expertise on the part of, and that's why we often say that research is an idiosyncratic process. It depends so much on the quality of the person who is, and research obviously is not a cup of tea for every person. Right? Many of the things you have to understand that person is not in a position to talk. Like he's looking at words, he's looking at mobile, he's bodily language. So he's probably in a hurry. If a person is in a hurry and you are still holding him, then probably he would give you sort of passing. So the point I'm basically, before going into FGD, the point I'm saying is that if you have thought of doing a research, you have to plan it so correctly that this is called research design, that at the later phases, when you are writing it, your research should speak out about the general questions, it should reflect on general findings, and should relate your finding with the general body of literature, so that you can claim that something new is being argued by you. You are arguing something new, something fresh. That makes your article or publication interesting for any kind of endeavor. All great publishing houses accept only those articles which are field-based and which generate theoretical answers. Begin with the question, theoretical question, go to data, end up with theoretical answers. This is the format of all research, MPhil, PhD, article, book, anything. Begin with the general question. The general question is thrown by review of literature. Go to the field where you have gone. Based on field data, come back to answer the theoretical question. While answering the theoretical question, you can have three kinds of answers. One is you are substantiating what has been said already. Yes, I agree with this theory. Marxian theory, postmodern theory, post-structuralist theory, feminist theory. I agree. Secondly, you partially agree. Well, Marxism is right, but feminism is equally right. Partially agree. Third, you reject. You develop a new argument. Right? For instance, a person went to study PG inmates. Inmates living in PG as a paying guest. So I asked the student to find out whether even within a hostel and PG environment there is a structure. Structure means rules and regulations. Like it happens in family life. In family there is a person, there are neighbors who would control you, kya kar rahe ho, kahan ja rahe ho, everybody would poke their nose. Whether in mess situation, in PG situation, there is that kind of structure or not. You just go and study. So the study found that the mess wali, the lady who manages the mess, she has a rule. By 8 o'clock you have to enter. Number one. You have to eat there. If you are not eating, because many a time parents call her. Mera beti kaisi hai? How is she? So she looks at you and she replies, "Oh, khati hi nahi hai kuch." She doesn't eat. সকালে ঘুম থেকে দেরিতে ওঠে, ঘরগুলো নোংরা করে রাখে, টয়লেটগুলো নোংরা করে রাখে। So even in a PG thing, there is some person called not mother but motherly, who is controlling. You are crying, you are not coming, you are entering late night. She is looking at you. Then during the day you are alone, you can go anywhere. But then you feel that you should not do that. You should not cross the limit. Your friend is smoking a cigarette, but you think, no, you should not do that. Why? Because you are part of a structure for long. You are part of a family, you are part of a relationship. You are not an individual, you are part of a community. And being a member of a community, you have learned certain things. You like chili, you like sauce, you like fry, you like machid jol, you like bhat. In JNU, I have never taken chapati, always gone for bhat. My socialization was like this, and my friends used to look at me, "Kya Ghosh kha rahe ho yaar, chapati khao yaar, ताकत मिलेगा." मैंने कभी खाया नहीं चपाती, एसिड हो जाता था मुझे। So like my genealogy, मेरा जो जीन है उसमें फिट नहीं करता है चपाती। इसीलिए the moment actually you pick up an assignment, you pick up an agenda to do certain things, you go back to the same reality. Because the reality is before you. You cannot ignore it. Despite being a person in a PG, you are not an individual totally. There is a structure. It allows you to go to see a film, see a cinema. It allows you to drink. It allows you to go and roam around with boyfriend. But after the point, you come back. So there is the agency of the individual. We call it agency. Your own creativity, you as an individual. Agency of a person means a person is free to do something. But there is a structure also in PG. So I asked the student to write an article. Structure and agency in PG relationship. Quite interesting. Normally if I ask you to study hostel life, what is there in studying hostel life? But if you can relate to the theoretical questions, it becomes interesting. So all publishing houses basically look for questions that you are generating and answers that you are giving. And if you blame the publishing house for rejecting a paper, you should you should look at your paper afresh. What kind of questions you are generating. Whether, and in contemporary age, it is so difficult to also do research because, a research done in Cambridge and Oxford is immediately known through internet. During our time when we used to go to National Library, pick up a book, write down the things, these are not the days now. Even Xeroxing is an old thing. Just take a picture, mobile phone, they take picture, they download, scan image, everything. So in contemporary age, you cannot say that this is not known to you. Whatever is written in, say, 1970 books, 1980 books, you are writing all those. For instance, you have written an article. Many of the references that you have cited, there are 2007, 2008, 2006. The editor will immediately reject it. This is not contemporary research. 10 years back. Now it is 2018 and you are citing 2008 data. Outdated. So, this is a big challenge because you have to read many things. Every day there are publications on the topic on which you are working. Every day there is publication. And you cannot say you do not know. Well, this thing I do not know. And whatever happens in the West, anything that is new, immediately now enters into any kind of country. For instance, of late, we social scientists have started talking about, I don't know whether you heard it or not, post-truth. Did you hear about the post-truth? A post-truth society. Post-truth is a phenomenon where the differences between false and truth is not clear. Political parties do it. They create an image, a phantasmagoria of development to Magaz Dhulai. What is true? You never know. What is false? Probably the true is false. You never know. Smartphone, you are taking a picture, you are editing it and uploading it. Is it a false picture? Since you have edited it, you have made it colorful, you have added hair in Biswajit Ghosh's head. It's camouflage. Many of us do camouflage in real life. The way we believe, the way we act is not the way we say. So what is true? Tell me. The truth is never known, all secret. So in the post-truth society, when the differences between truth and false is so thin, you cannot easily find out the differences, we have started doubting each other. We have started doubting each other, and that is one of the reasons for which I like your post in Facebook, not because your post is wonderful post, but because you equally have liked my post a few days back. There is a reciprocity. There is a reciprocity in liking. You don't go by theme. You don't go by theme, you go by number of people who are like, oh, he doesn't like me. How we used to block at the thing. So, the truth is, often the truth is not about the way it is being shown, the truth remains behind, there's a curtain behind it. So, taking everything, taking into consideration the modern complexity of social life and the way people really do it, let me now come back to FGD. And after lunch, we'll be practicing, we'll be doing an FGD. I'll ask you to form a group. Well, I'm giving you the topic. Maybe you can also find out a topic. The topic is why is our private education, why is our the standard of education in Bengal so low? Why is the standard of education in Bengal so low? You do an FGD on the status of education, private education or education maybe. It is up to you. Around 10 of you have to volunteer. You have to sit down there. I will be explaining how you should do it, but you should discuss. The advantages of FGD will then become very clear to you. But the disadvantages also, if you are not careful, if you do not plan it, you have to have 5 to 6 questions on which the participants will answer. The person leading the FGD should have 5 to 6 answers, 5 to 6 questions. So you develop 5 to 6 questions. If the questions are biased, then the whole FGD gets biased. So the questions should be framed in such a fashion that it encourages discussion. So I am giving you a task to frame question on the status of private education in Bengal. 5 questions. Maximum 5 questions. Minimum 4 questions. On those 4 questions, participants will discuss. The result of the discussion is answer to the status of private education that you put. So the question should be framed in such a way that the answers reflect the object of research. Right? So what is FGD? FGD obviously is a qualitative research, even though it's a discussion, but it is not straight interview situation. This means you are asking a group of people to discuss something. For instance, you are in an adda. You are talking about a cricket match, a football match, a musical অনুষ্ঠান, a musical program in Z Bangla, Saregamapa, about the prize. You are talking about this. There, actually, you find that your opinion should be expressed. And there, at that point of time, you really express your own opinion. You don't conceal it. You don't hide it. So, in a situation when people are expressing the true experiences, true inner core of their heart, the participants, the person who is conducting it, he or she is listening, what is the actual voice of the people. So for instance, you have done a survey on literacy or illiteracy, and after that, you are framing some question. You have done a research on child marriage, on domestic violence, on dowry, whatever may be, then you are doing the FGD. Because at the fag end of life, you are left with 4 or 5 very serious questions. For instance, who takes dowry? Why do they take? What should be done to prevent dowry? Basic questions. These are the basic answers you will be answering. So you are posing those basic questions to the participants. The answers given are then matched with the data that you have collected through other techniques.
Sir, to break daily.
আমি ভুলে গেছি সেটা ভুলে গেছি যেটা হয় নরমালি তো আমরা একটু ব্রেক নিচ্ছি আমরা তারপরে এফজিতে একটু বলাবো কি করে করতে হয় সেটা একটু বলা হবে তারপর